I will never forget the day it all happened. It was one of those moments when you feel like you're in the middle of a movie, too surreal to be real. I had never experienced anything like it, and I'm not sure I'll ever forget the shame and disbelief I felt that day. It started out simple enough. I just moved to the city and was looking for places to unwind after long days of work. A friend had recommended this exclusive private club downtown where the rich and famous hung out. I figured, why not? A little bit of luxury wouldn't hurt, right? So I put on my nicest suit, hoping to blend in. When I arrived, the atmosphere was exactly what I expected. People in high-end clothes, fancy drinks in hand, and a general air of sophistication. But as soon as I stepped up to the door, the security guard gave me a once-over that left me feeling uneasy. He barely looked at me before raising an eyebrow. "Can I help you?" he asked in a tone that already made me feel out of place. "I'm here to join the club," I said, trying to sound confident. He took a long look at me, then glanced at his clipboard. "I'm sorry, sir," he said, his voice dripping with judgment. "But you don't look like you belong here. The dress code and your, well, appearance, it's just not up to our standards. I'm afraid you'll have to leave." I stood there, stunned. My heart sank as I tried to process what was happening. "Wait, what do you mean?" I asked, feeling the sting of his words. "I'm just here to check out the place. A friend recommended it." He didn't even budge. "I'm afraid the club is for members only, and based on what I see, you don't have the membership type we're looking for." I felt humiliated, standing there in front of a crowd of people who looked like they had it all. I turned to leave, feeling every ounce of embarrassment hit me like a wave. As I walked away, I heard a couple of whispers and snickers. I couldn't help but feel the weight of judgment as I walked out of that shiny golden door. But then, something inside me snapped. I'd worked my whole life to get where I was, and this wasn't how I was going to be treated. I had to take action. I pulled out my phone and made a quick call to my lawyer. Within minutes, he'd arranged for a meeting with the club's owner. I wasn't going to let this go so easily. The next day, I was back at the club, not as a guest, but as someone who had the power to change things. When I walked through the door again, the same guard was there. His eyes widened when he saw me. "Sir, I'm here to speak with the owner," I interrupted, my voice calm but firm. I could see the confusion on his face, but I wasn't going to explain myself. Minutes later, the owner of the club appeared. He had an air of confidence and wealth that was hard to ignore. I could tell by his expression that he had no idea who I was, and frankly, I didn't care. He invited me to his office, and that's when I dropped the bombshell. "You kicked me out yesterday," I started, "because you thought I wasn't rich enough to be here." He shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to respond. "I'm not here to cause trouble, but I think you should know who I really am." I paused, letting him sweat for a second before continuing. "I'm the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company. You might have heard of it. It's been in the news quite a bit lately." The owner's face turned pale. He stumbled for words, clearly shocked. I had no idea. I never meant..." "I don't expect an apology," I cut him off. "But I do expect respect. This is a place that prides itself on exclusivity, but it looks like you've forgotten what that really means." He sat there, speechless, as the weight of his actions hit him. He offered to make it up to me by giving me an exclusive membership, but I didn't need that. What I wanted was for him to understand that true worth isn't about appearance or money. It's about treating people with dignity, no matter where they come from. As I walked out of his office, I could hear the hum of the club in the background. The music, the laughter, the clinking of glasses. It was all so hollow now. What had once seemed like the epitome of success now felt like a facade. I didn't need any of it. But there was more I had to do. I wasn't just going to walk away. I wasn't going to let this be the end of it. The next few days were a whirlwind. I hired a PR firm to help craft a public statement, not just for myself, but for others who might have been treated the same way. My story went public quickly, and it spread like wildfire. Articles, interviews, social media. Suddenly everyone was talking about how I'd been mistreated, not just for my wealth, but for my humanity. The club, of course, tried to backtrack. They issued a statement apologizing for their actions and offering me a membership, but by then, it didn't matter to me. What mattered was that the world saw what had happened. The world saw that even the wealthiest, most powerful people can be judged by superficial standards. Months later, I met with the owner again, but this time it was different. He was apologetic, sincere in a way I hadn't expected. He'd gone through his own internal changes, reading the countless messages that came in from people who had experienced similar treatment, some even worse. His apology wasn't about saving face anymore. It was real. "You've taught me something important," he admitted. "I've spent my life in a world that values appearances over substance. I didn't realize how blind I was." In that moment, I knew I had done more than just stand up for myself. I'd made a difference. The world wasn't going to be the same for me anymore. And maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't be the same for some of those people either. I walked away from that conversation with a sense of closure, but also with something deeper. That day, I realized that wealth and success are not the markers of a person's worth. Kindness, respect, and understanding, those are the true measures. And as long as I remembered that, I knew I could never be judged by anyone's limited view of me again. I wasn't just a billionaire. I was a person who knew what it was like to be treated unfairly, but also a person who was determined to change the way people saw each other.